All right. What's up, guys? So, this is one more episode of Weekly with Biglee, and from this week, we are going to have a guest. And today's guest is a super special friend of mine, a great human being who did 16 to 18 hours of service to the people of Bangalore when we were hit by the pandemic. He is someone who believes that you have to help each other to be happy in life. We both have the same passion in lifting. This guy has been my friend for over 2 decades. Without further ado, it's Mohammed Azmath, also known as Power Beard. He's a world champion powerlifter. He teaches powerlifting. He has a school of powerlifting where he teaches people how to become strong, how to lift heavy with proper technique and in a super healthy way. Please join me in welcoming Mohammed Azmath. Hey, brother, what's up?
Hi, how are you?
I'm
Biglee? Good
great.
to see you
I'm
here,
great,
man.
brother.
And thank you for having me over. It's a wonderful
Yeah.
opportunity to be on the same screen as you.
Yep. Like for people who don't know me, when I started bodybuilding, I listened to very few people. We both were internet friends, and if I relied on somebody to, like critique my physique and tell me recommendations, he was the first person that I would go to. And there was one more person called as Krishna. So these two guys have molded my bodybuilding career to the fullest when I was doing the natural bodybuilding. Okay. So so let me just start, like with questioning Mohammed Azmath. We call him Azibai. So he is from Bangalore, and people who are in the powerlifting circuit know him super really well. And to begin with, how did you got interested into lifting, brother?
Well, it goes back into early 2000s, and even before that, I started off when I was just out of school.
Okay.
And during that time, in 90s, late 90s, I think, yes, we didn't have many facilities. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have a lot of things that we have today, Instagram, Facebook, blogs, a lot of things were in there. So the first book that I got for myself about this was Arnold's Encyclopedia, and I was just carried away by the bodies in that and the weights they were lifting, and likewise. So I was a very frail, thin guy when I started off. I mean, it was something that I wanted to do to get better, to put on some weight, to put on some muscle, and likewise. So it really started there. I wanted to be muscular and strong, but I didn't know how to. So I started there. And then I got a copy of Blood and Guts from Dorian Yates. The journey really started from there. I mean, I was, blown away with Dorian's straightforwardness and the intense HIIT workouts and likewise. So that's where it really started. And the why for me was very simple, Murali. It was just to fight my weakness. So as simple as
Yeah.
that.
Okay. Okay. So first time I met Azmat on a page called as Dorian Aids Fan Club. That's where we exchanged our views, and that's how we became friends. Okay. So that was how you got into lifting. What made you enter into powerlifting? Like we have been internet friends for a long time. We used to discuss about workout to improve our muscle and stuff. What transpired from, like those bodies that look great to this man who has to be super strong? How did that transition happen?
I I came in from the mindset of looking as strong as I would and lifting as much as I look. It was like I wanted to build muscle. Even this was from the earlier days itself, but I didn't have a direction. I was lifting heavy almost in all the exercises, sometimes needlessly. I remember having done even flies with 35 kilos, which was not required. But then it was the pursuit of strength that existed long ago, which I didn't know myself. I mean, like, it wasn't powerlifting that I really started off with. My objective was to fight weakness. The only thing, whatever that would make me strong. If someone would tell me climb stairs every day 10 times, I would do it. If somebody would tell me just run a mountain up, I would do that every day. So it was strength. I wanted to be strong and I didn't know how to get strong. I mean, to be honest, like that. So back when it got into 2000s and when we started to talk to each other, that was a transition point where I started to see a lot of other methodologies across the world. Of course, with the advent of internet, with the Orkut, and likewise because Facebook, Insta came much, much later. So with the discussions there, that's when I realized that there are so many approaches to really reach our goals. And then I started to see myself reach my original aspiration in life to get strong while I'm still muscular and maintaining a fair level of aestheticism, otherwise. So it was a transition that happened later, but the seed of which always was there in the heart. It wasn't something that I just found one day and I switched over. It was there from before. It just found its, avenue that it can channelize into this more
Yeah.
focused than just train for hypertrophy.
Hmm. That's very interesting, like the seed, like for all of us, we have a passion inside. We just don't know, like which direction it's gonna take us on until we hit on that one particular point, which tells you
Yeah.
this is my life. This is where I'm gonna take my life to. So when you decided to take up strength, okay, so it's like now you've found out that strength is where you want to put your effort into. Which was the first show you wanted to do, and how did you perform in that?
All right. So there was a competition in Kuwait. I was in Kuwait back in those days, 2010, 11-ish period. And there was a gym competition for squat, bench, and deadlift. And that's where I thought that why don't I give it a shot? I had no expectations from the championship or the meet. I just wanted to go there and do my stuff because powerlifting is is a very self-oriented sport. Though the medals and the wins and the trophies and the records are all there, but it's you versus you. I mean, sometimes you have very high competition where you would not place. Sometimes you have absolutely nobody that it's a cakewalk for you because the others are way far away from your numbers. But at the end of it, it's what I have done in my previous competition to what I'll do in the next. So that's how it started off with that competition in mind and having no idea about where am I going to place, what am I going to be doing there, whether even I'll be able to finish the championship or not, and a lot of those questions. So I prepped up for it, and I did well. I don't think I won anything in that competition. That was a gym competition, and the rules were not the same as what they are in the otherwise competitions. And but it wasn't a formal one. The formal competitions for me started off with the state level in Karnataka. And by that time, I had taken a year from the initial competition and I had prepped up. And it was an equipped competition. This squat suit, bench shirt, and the deadlift suit, and all that. That one I really prepped up well. I knew what numbers were there from the previous years, whom I was going to compete against because from the team, they knew who would be in my body weight category and the age category. So in that competition, I mean, I don't want to bitch about stuff, but there was so much of favoritism. I had squatted literally ass to grass, and I was still called on it. You know this very, very well. You can be in
Yeah.
top condition with your body and your dryness and your sharpness and your size, but someone else wants someone else to win, and you would just get the second or third, and that is exactly what happened. They didn't want to give away the gold to someone else, which is fair. According to them, that's what it worked. But yeah. So that was a lot of lessons for me that no matter what you do and what you don't do,
Brother, your
when you get to the
microphone is too
competition,
far away. Your microphone.
I'm
Yeah.
actually using
Yeah.
AirPod. Is
It
it
just
better
got
now?
cut. Yeah. Yeah. Now it's better. Yeah.
Yeah, this one starts to die in the ear. I don't know why. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nevertheless.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was the first competition, and I did well. I squatted a 230, benched a 155, and deadlifted a 275. So that was my first formal competition, and I got a silver medal or a bronze. I'm not really sure. Yeah, bronze then. I got a bronze then. Yeah. So that was the first one, and I realized that what needs to be done, and worked it up from there. But that was equipped.
Okay.
Raw powerlifting is something else, which I will come to it in a little bit later. For the
Okay.
first 3 years, right? 2012, 13, 14, 15. One second, my son is calling me. Just a moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
One second over here.
Yeah. So, what you see in the background of the house
Live. Okay.
is his personal gym in his probably a bedroom or a backyard or whatever it is. This has been his setup. Even when he was in Kuwait, he had a gym in his garage where he would just go and lift whenever he gets time. So this is what you would see in most of the intense lifters' house. They would, even if it's there is rain or shine, there is cyclone or whatever it is, you don't stop lifting, and that's exactly the setup there. And I think so it's a kitten on the backyard. Yeah. Yes, brother, I was just telling that it's your home setup and it's not a gym. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. This is actually this is my ground floor. We can give a quick tour of this as well if you want. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So that's what it is. So first couple of years into lifting, it was all about equipped because the federation rules were such that I had to compete in equipped to be even able to go to raw nationals and upwards from there. So and that's how it went.
Okay. So now I've got some questions lined up for you, and then we will get back to the raw. So you post a lot of videos of your kids training, okay? And you should have definitely had some people DM saying that their height will be, like stopped. Why are you training your kids at this age? I want your answer for that, and tell me how interested your son and daughter are towards lifting. I can see the amount of joy they have when they lift. I can see that they are standing in a candy store. But for viewers to understand what goes through their mind and how they take this up and how they approached you that, Daddy, I want to lift. How did that moment happen?
Very interesting. I'll come to the questions people ask me a little bit later. Let's look at their
Mm.
origins.
Yeah.
Murali, if you remember when we used to talk earlier on, when even much before my daughter was born, we've been talking. But after the daughter was born and all that, like you said, I had a setup at home, even in Kuwait. Uh, and that was on the ninth floor. I used to be
Mm.
squatting, benching, deadlifting on the ninth floor. And if you remember those videos, I used to keep the barbell
Yeah.
loaded with 200, 225, 250 kilos on the ground, like I'm keeping a glass,
Yes.
a
Yes.
glass on a table. That delicate because I couldn't afford to deload it hard and make noise. They would chuck me out of the apartment complex. So things were difficult back then. This is what I tell people that life is never easy if you want it to be. It's always going to be a mixture of bed of roses and bed of thorns. Yeah. So that period was one of the most challenging and rewarding. I was facing a wall for about 3 years, training to a wall. No mirrors, no nothing. I used to finish my office work, come down, load the stuff, and train. During that time, I used to even babysit my girl. So she has seen lifting from the earliest years of her life. She has seen iron more than toys in those days. Not that she didn't have toys to play, but it's something that has grown with them. And even in those years, I used to get them this medicine balls you get half kilo, quarter kilo,
Yeah. Yeah.
soft
Yeah.
ones, soft
Yep.
ones. They are rubber and they are jelly like.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to get her those toys to play. Okay, so they pick it up and she throws it down, she throws it here, she throws it even on herself. It's half a kilo. Nothing will happen to a 5 kilo, 4 kilo child if they drop it on themselves as well. It's just 10%, and it doesn't have sharp edges, nothing. So, so they kind of grew handling weight. For them, weight is not something they get scared of. They don't have the paranoia of, oh, this is the load, this is the weight. Of course, anxiety in lifting, everybody will have, but they didn't have that thing. And it grew into their system that this is normal, this is not abnormal. So that's how it started off. And as they grew bigger, they would sit, both the son and daughter, and watch me when I lift at home. They sit in the corner and just watch. They saw me deadlift, they saw me bench, they saw me squat, and sometimes they used to also want to come and try, but I would stop them because they were too young for it. So come 2017-ish, 2018, I would say rather period, I started to introduce them more towards structured lifting. They had been always doing some kind of physical activity related to loading, something heavy,
Hmm.
sandbag. I used to get them sandbags to play at home, that kind of stuff. So I kind of built that foundation very earlier on. So the transition to a formal lift, like a squat, bench, deadlift, happened just 3 years back. But that's not where it actually started. It started way too early. And I worked on their psyche before I did anything with their body because
Hmm.
mind is everything.
Absolutely.
So that, yeah. So now when they come to the stage where, like you said, they're like kid in a candy store, and they're like that when you come to the gym. I have to actually restrain them. Given to their liking, they will not study and just keep lifting. So so I have to curtail them, say that no, you have exams, you have studies, you have homework, you have school, you have online classes, and likewise, and then we will do this stuff. I mean, so their training program is also very fluid. It's not very rigid because they're way too early for it. Whatever progress that they're making is absolute, and this is what we really believe in lifting, right? Don't fix what ain't broken. If they are
Yeah.
making progress with a certain
Yeah.
approach, a certain flexibility, don't make it too rigid that it breaks off. Whatever is working is working. What is not, we will try to figure it out. So, in short, they love what they do.
Hmm.
Absolutely. So coming to the question of people asking me, yeah, timer does it. Why are you making them lift heavy weight? Why are they maxing out? I said they're maxing out because they are competitive athletes. No, but why should they be competitive at this age? I was like, man, I've seen kids of 10-year-old deadlifting 100 kilos. I've seen it with my own eyes in Russia
Hmm.
many
Hmm.
a
Hmm.
time. 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds lifting crazy loads, and they're absolutely healthy children, and they're in the growing years. And there has been no science, there has been no evidence to prove that it will curtail their growth. My daughter has
Absolutely.
been lifting from 3 years. She was
Hmm.
here when she started off probably. She's here now.
Yeah. 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 She's a tall child. Yes.
She's a tall child, 13-year-old, 13 and a half. And since 10, she has been kind of consistently doing lifting, on the weekends and likewise. And she has grown. And
Hmm.
more so, her last yoke walk, Murali, in particular, she did a 160 kilo yoke walk.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
So,
So.
I mean, yeah. So the routine and the program is not fixated on the big lifts alone. There's so much of other variety. And this I
Yes.
have to give it to Josh. I mean, Jailhouse Strong. He's the one who kind of structured out more dimension to my training. Always was training onto big lifts. I always was training on
Hmm.
hypertrophy and HIIT and volume and what kind of workouts. But the strongman flavor, though I was doing these stuff in Kuwait, though I was doing them in the park, if you remember, doing farmers walk in the
Yes.
park and
Yes.
sled
Yes.
drags, and
Exactly.
that was 12 years ago, yeah, 10, 12 years
Yeah.
ago. Though I was
Yeah.
doing all of that, but still the structured way of doing is something that I learned with Josh. And that's
Hmm. Hmm.
why
Hmm.
I tell everybody coach also needs a coach and coach also needs a coach. Eventually, as
Exactly.
long as you are competing, as long as you are in the grade, you want to get better, a guru is very important. He's the
Absolutely.
guide. He's everything.
Yep. Yep. So just wanted to add, okay, so when like some kid is lifting, everybody throws this notion saying that what will happen to their height and other things. The same kid when is trying for a football or a sprinting where they exert
Yeah,
more energy hours and hours together, it doesn't bother
yeah,
them because lifting is something that is a taboo. Hi, little fellow. So lifting is a taboo for many one, and they can't do. The moment they say kids lifting
yeah,
heavier than their body weight, they just can't handle the jealousy. Right.
yeah.
So an important question, okay? It's gonna be very offensive. Why do you do live on the car?
Okay, this kind of goes back to my. I'm project manager, project program
Yeah,
manager by profession.
yeah.
So my entire life, I have been driving from one site to another site. Okay, project sites. So the most of the feedback that we used to take from the site which I'm going to visit used to be over the phone when I'm driving between the sites. So I have kind of picked up that skill from
Okay.
there
Hmm.
of being extremely attentive to what's around me, what's in front of me,
Hmm.
and my traffic and guys and all that, and still focus on what I have to deliver over my over my language and talk. Yeah,
Okay.
so it works. It's not unsafe. I don't for a second uh, get lost in the conversation and not focus on what's around me. So from the safety perspective, it is definitely safe. But
Hmm.
yeah, and another thing, Murali, is that I don't have time, unfortunately or fortunately.
Yeah.
It's very rarely that I have time because between the day job, between my training, between the kids' training, between the athletes that I train, and the other businesses that we have, the bandwidth is only when I drive. That's the only time
Hmm.
where I have like a good half an hour. And most of the times I record those videos when I'm driving to gym. And my facility from my house is about 45 minutes. So I have a good
Okay.
time there if I either talk to, I think many times I've spoken to you as well
Yeah.
during that time.
Yes. Yes.
So either I talk to you, my friends, or I just make a video while I'm driving. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. So I was on the notion that there was a period where like I used to follow Lily a lot. So he also used to
Yeah.
make a lot of videos on the car. So I just thought powerlifters have something about the car to make videos.
Brandon
All right.
Weeklee. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So,
Yeah.
okay. So we know that you're a world champion. So what would be a typical training period that you would take towards a big competition like the world championship? And what were the best that you achieved on the platform in terms of lifts?
It really depends from person to person. In my tenure as an official for the Indian powerlifting in the WPC, because we are WPC fed, I'm not IPF, I'm ex-IPF. That's a different story.
Okay.
So in our Fed, Murli, I have picked up boys and girls, men and women, right from nowhere and put them on the world platform if I felt their numbers were good. Because we know by experience. I mean, if you
Yeah.
see a guy shredded to like bone literally with a lot of muscle and dryness, you don't want him to waste his time doing a district and a state and national, rotting himself all through. You would say, man, this is world class. Just step on the stage and you're done. So,
Yeah.
same way, I have picked up few such athletes, and one of them notably is this lady called Nami. I mean,
Hmm.
she once met me a couple of years back, 2.5 years back, and I just saw her lift. She was an athlete. She was a sprinter from the very early years of her life until 20, and she had that shitload of what you say type 2 B2A fibers, the
Yeah.
fast twitch. She is built of fast twitch. I don't think she has slow twitch at all in her body because it's just explosiveness, crazy level of explosiveness. So in matter of 6 to 8 months, from a deadlift of 120, I got her to break a world record of 170. It's
Wow.
not me. It's just
Wow.
that she had a potential in her. I mean, people started to question me about juice, and I said, look, man, when have you seen 50% increment in the lift with whatever you want to use under the sun in 6 months? This is not there.
Exactly.
This is just
Yeah.
sheer potential to be tapped. So she like I'm saying, so that lady is out of the blue. There could be so many of such people who are having that potential and the strength. They just lack direction.
Yeah.
They just lack somebody to look at them and tell them, hey, you know what? Come with me to the world. She was surprised when I told her. When I told her when she was 120, I told her, look, there's a competition end of this year. You have to consider it. She said, like, I have not done anything. I said, don't worry about that. So she got a 120 squat, 60 kilo bench, and 170 deadlift at a body weight of 55 kilos.
Wow. Wow.
It's crazy. It's crazy of all levels.
Yeah.
So this woman's journey was a year from a
Hmm.
nobody to a world champion. I took like forever. So it really depends. And my best numbers on the platform are 270 on the squat, 155 on the bench, and a 295 on the deadlift. And this is raw powerlifting, not
Yeah.
equipped.
Yeah.
I don't go equipped. So the raw and equipped powerlifting. I made this transition in 2004, 15-ish period, right? 15, 14, 14 onwards, I started to remove from gear as in the powerlifting suits from the competitions, and I would go and compete in equipped meets raw. So I was questioned by my own teammates saying that why would you do that? You are at a disadvantage. So that is when Murali, I told them in 2014, in less than 5 years, I see myself competing on world's platform, raw. I have to start that journey. It starts now.
Hmm. Hmm.
I
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
seen myself there. This is what I tell people. If you don't see yourself who you want to be, no one is going to see that for you.
Hmm. Exactly.
So
Exactly.
my transition happened like that. I decided that I'm going to compete raw. It's going to start now. Even if I lose my place, maybe from a silver to a bronze, maybe a bronze to a fourth place or no place at all, it's okay. Because the long term vision that I have for myself is that I will be competing in Raw. And I not just did that, I surpassed my equipped numbers in Raw eventually. It took time.
Yep.
It took time. The first Raw competition, I barely got a 200 squat and a 130 bench and a 250 deadlift. That was the first competition. From there, I worked it up from 200 to 270, from 130 to 155. I have a pec tear in my left.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So numbers didn't go really high in bench, but it is what it is. And then in deadlift, it went from 250 to 295. Whereas I had competed first with 275 deadlift in equipped.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
had pulled a 300 in equipped. So pulling 300 in equipped, I had to go back to 250 and accept it, settle for it, to work it back to 300 again. This is what I tell people and tell everybody that you need to have that vision and work towards it. You might come across people telling you you're an idiot. You should see what you're doing. They will never be able to see it.
You know what you're capable of, and only you can decide
Yeah.
your path. The problem is a lot of people,
Yes.
like when you said that, I just want to, like add on to it. It is the Indian society is built this way. Okay, there is a saying by Cooley, which says, "You are not what you think you believe. You are not what they think you are, but you
Yeah.
are what they think you are that you think in them." So it is about what, let's, for example, the career of a child is decided by a father.
Yeah.
If he thinks this guy is going to make a good engineer, invariably the kid goes into engineering. The kid might be an artist, the kid might be a bodybuilder, a kid
Yeah.
might be a sprinter. It never
True.
happens. We don't teach our children to find their own path and vision. And end of the day, we, like you said, when you had to make a transition, you were very clear. And that is the reason why, like when it comes to powerlifting, your name stands out in the country. So that was very, very inspiring to know that, like you had to step down, accept the lower numbers so that you can achieve
Yeah.
something big. Okay, so let's get back to something interesting. I'm going to shoot some names. It's a rapid fire round. Okay, I'm just going to shoot some names, and instantly you're going to say whatever comes on your mind.
Yeah.
And I think so somebody's on your shoulder already. Okay, so let's get started. And there's going to be a lot of Orkut related stuff here. And for people who don't
Yeah.
know, we got friends in Orkut. And
Yeah.
most of you listening to this might have not even known that there existed one. That was our first social media platform. Okay, Casey.
Yeah. Smart as.
K11.
Practicals lacking. Theory perfect.
Deepika Chaudhary.
The best in India.
Raghu.
Wonderful friend and a very strong power lifter.
Spirituality.
Humanity.
Platform.
Deadlifts.
Hamstring.
Tears.
Dream.
Dream. Dream is a lot of dreams, it's a peace.
Okay. Orkut.
A foundation.
Money.
Not everything.
Yahya.
Pride.
Mariam.
Sweetheart.
Awesome. So that concludes the rapid fire question round. Okay. So let me just ask you some of the basic
I would have said
questions
actually both are my pride, but I just
Yeah.
deviated because one was pride and something else. But yeah.
I understand. You will have to deal with that later. The idea of this question is putting you into a lot of entanglement that you have to deal later so that you remember me
Yeah.
always. All right. Yeah. So yeah. So there are a lot of questions that would arise when we say about powerlifting. Like still, like a lot of lifters don't understand what is bodybuilding, what is powerlifting, what is strongman, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So I'm just gonna ask few directed questions so that people understand how powerlifters work. Most of the people
Yeah.
think if it's a powerlifter, he does bench, squat, deadlift all day long. But let's ask them. Let me ask you some questions that will like give them a real understanding. So
Yeah.
if a powerlifter wants to increase his bench numbers, what are all the techniques that he uses? It's not just like benching and like going on like heavy, light, and moderate, but there are going to be some techniques that you incorporate in order to increase his lift. What are they?
First thing I would look at the setup because bench. See, they say powerlifting, squat, bench, and deadlift has three different lifts. Squat is about guts. Squat is about really that guts to stand under the load and go down. Bench is about technique.
Yeah.
Deadlift is the size of the man's heart. It's like it's
Yeah.
your size of the man's heart or woman's heart. It's the size of the heart. But bench is technique. You cannot get better at bench with a shitty technique. There is nobody who benches with a shitty technique. Big numbers. Big numbers as per their body weight, as per their experience and all. So having said that, bench in particular, first is technique. I would look at the technique, I would look at the stroke, I would look at the enhancing the setup itself, where they are tight, really tight from the scapulae, from the upper back, traps on the bench. Everybody talks about traps on the bench, but everybody can do that by doing traps this way and getting on the bench. No, it's depressing the traps in the scapula. Now, this is the kind of information that is lacking on social media. This is the reason why I keep hosting this technique clinics, or I'm going to be hosting one in Mumbai in this month on 17th of October. We should work out something similar in Chennai, Murali.
Definitely.
So the
Brother.
reason, yeah. So what I tend to do in that is translate those cues that we always hear on the internet to what it actually means on the ground. These are all known stuff. Be tight on the bench. How to be tight on the bench? What is tightness? Should I just squeeze everything from my neck to toe? Or what does the tightness mean? How to transfer the leg drive to the bar? How to get a pause on the bench and then explode from it? So those kind of technique related stuff is the first thing that I look into. Second, I look at the place where they fail. Off the chest, mid range, or where is it? Off the chest is very simple. You need to work your upper back because upper back acts like a spring at that point. And other thing of failing in the middle is tricep and speed. The faster I can push explosively from the chest, the lesser load on the tricep. If I push it slow, then at one point the entire load without momentum is transitioned to your tricep. On the chest, you have shoulder, you have chest, you have upper back, and you have arms. There's so much of muscle pushing it off. And if we go slow from there, you reach a point where all these bigger muscles are out fairly. Upper back is no longer pushing it. Your chest is no longer pushing it as much. Shoulder is also not contracted that much. So the only thing that is going to push it out is just a tricep. And tricep is three muscle. Otherwise, you had so many muscles on the chest when the bar was on the chest. So these kind of things. So technique, speed. Speed is very important in bench. The explosiveness of the chest to follow it through to a lockout. Third is muscle. No, you will never see a thin bencher who is benching big. It's always going to be a thick guy. Arms, forearms, shoulder, chest, upper back. So a lot of muscle is needed. Again, not by training on machines, but more so on training on. Let me get a charger, Murali. Unfortunately, my phone didn't charge properly. Just a moment.
Yes.
Yeah. Or I might just shift a location. Where? Let me know if this location is okay.
Yes. Works good. Yeah. Works.
Yeah, there's a background light. Yeah. But if it's not too much of an hassle, I can use this location. Yeah. It's clear enough?
Yeah, absolutely, brother.
Yeah, or I can turn a little bit like this. Okay, like this.
This way works. Yeah, this is better.
This is fine, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, talking of which, technique, speed, and muscle. Three things are very, very important for a big bench.
Yep.
And patience.
All right.
And exactly like you said, by just benching small, medium, light, heavy, moderate, light all across the week, without addressing these weaker areas, without working on the technique, we will just reinforce the wrong technique more and more. Exactly. Frequency is not the answer sometimes. Frequency can be a detrimental factor because whatever shitty form we have, we might drill it down so deep inside the system that once a week itself was sufficient to get it drilled. You do it thrice a week and you end up with what? Much more rework to do later. So frequency blindly thrown in to fix a lift without fixing technique is the worst mistake to do in lifting.
Awesome. That was very enlightening. When it comes to deadlift, so there is this conventional deadlift and there is the sumo stand. How do you recommend people to take which stand? Is it based on the length of their limbs or the power distribution in their body? How do you ask them to choose a particular technique?
Okay, if it is competitive, we would do this experiment. If it is non-competitive, there is no business anyone should do a sumo deadlift, honestly. Non-competitive lifters who are training, which is 90% of India's population, have no business loading a weight in sumo and doing it for a 1 RM, which is not their journey, which is not something they should, other than Instagram likes and dislikes and stuff. That is not their business at all. They should never be doing it. Oh, 1 second, it's not charging. Wait a minute. God. It would have just gone offline. One second. What is this problem with the charger? God, sorry for the trouble.
Yeah. It's all right.
I don't know if it's gonna go. Okay, now it is charging. It was something to do with the point. Luckily, I just noticed it. Otherwise, it was 1%. I don't know what went wrong.
Wow.
I had put it for charge on the same charger. That's why I think it
Okay.
never charged overnight. It has not charged overnight because the point
Awesome.
now also no. I mean, it didn't charge unless I saw it that
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah, it's not charging. Anyways, yeah.
Yeah.
So deadlift for a commoner, no, they should never be deadlifting sumo.
Yeah.
They can deadlift sumo as a
Mm-hmm.
hypertrophy work, as a wide stance sumo
Mm-hmm.
squat or whatever that we want to call it. Like that, it is fine, but not to load
Mm-hmm.
heavy. Sumo is an exemption given in powerlifting to compete. So there is no business for a non-competitive athlete to do sumo. Similarly,
Mm-hmm.
see in powerlifting competitions, we do paused benches. Now, people will never
Yeah.
do paused benches because it is difficult. Why don't they do paused benches
Yeah.
instead of doing normal benches then? So,
Mm-hmm.
so basically, we are just choosing the easier alternative. Sumo is wide
Okay.
stance. For some people, it's easy, so they'll load more weight and do sumo and say, my deadlift is this much. For bench, when it comes to it, nobody wants to follow the powerlifting way of benching because benching with a pause is
Yeah.
difficult. That'll touch and go. So
Yeah.
it's about
Yeah. Yeah.
convenience and a show off than the benefit of it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas
All
when
right.
it comes to competitive athletes, I make them do fairly both initially. We work on both the lifts and see which are they adapted with. If they have the right hip opening or can it be worked on, then we go into sumo. If your hips are not opening out enough and if you cannot squat out the bar with wide stance and you're doing what most of the people I see, they end up doing a conventional deadlift in a wide stance.
Yeah. 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 Very much.
90% of sumo pullers in India are not sumo pullers. They are conventional deadlifters in a wide stance. That is very, very, it's a very bad place to be in because they will neither get best of both. And it's needless risk, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So now on to the squats. What's your opinion on the Bulgarian squat techniques? Where, like, see, for me,
Frequency.
it's all on the internet, whatever research I did, like people just squat every day and then like until they, like, so that's the basic science that I read. But does that work? Do you recommend those kind of squatting every day to people?
Well, it really depends. See, like I said, how good or bad is the technique? If the technique is really bad, if you're going to squat every day of the week, you are just going to make the technique worse and worse, deeper into your system, wherein you have to fix it later is going to take you that much more time. First. Second thing is, the premise of squatting every day is coming in from Olympic lifting. It is not a powerlifting thing.
Okay.
See,
Okay.
Olympic
Okay.
lifters train, the Bulgarian system itself is not powerlifting. The Bulgarians, there is no such thing really called the Bulgarian system for powerlifting. It is coming in from Olympic lifting. Because you know
Okay.
there's people,
Okay.
all of them are.
Yeah.
So people have taken that and put into powerlifting and
All
made
right.
it some kind of a system.
Hmm.
So it's very high frequency. It works for Olympic lifting because Olympic lifting, 90% of the time in the week, they are doing technique.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you are training below 60% of your RM by science, we can train every day, twice a week, twice a day as well. Doesn't matter.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So they will do snatch technique. They will split the lift into various parts. Their coach determines which part they will train more frequently and which part will be lesser frequent. They will
Mm-hmm.
squat with various loads. They will do an overhead squat. They will do a back squat. They will do a front squat. They will do, various loads and techniques and all that with it. They will do jerks, split jerks, shoulder presses, push presses, a lot of things they do. They train 7 days a week, probably, or 6 days. But then
Mm-hmm.
again, Murli, we are forgetting that these systems are designed for competitive athletes.
Yes.
which means they have a team behind them who is working
Hmm.
on the recovery. Now,
Exactly.
this guy
Exactly.
who is going to office and taking his time out to go to the gym in the night, he wants to follow a Bulgarian method, for example. Who is going to take care of his recovery?
Exactly. Exactly.
So yeah, when things are working, like I said, there's a lot of fad these days because of Instagram influence and whatnot. I
Hmm.
don't say it is bad, it is good, but people need
With
to
the
figure out for
context.
themselves what works. I mean, even with
Yeah.
Josh, when I have to feedback my progress to him, when I give my feedback on the progress, I tell him that the next couple of weeks are going to be very hard on my office work and things that are coming up on personal front. I need to back out on a little bit volume. There's no shame in it. So he would then program me for the next miso in a way that I can progress, maintain, and yet not kill myself in the process. There is, I mean, say for
So
27 years into lifting now, I have nothing to prove that I'm a consistent guy. I
yeah.
mean, or
Yeah. Exactly.
yeah, I mean, so nothing to prove to anybody or myself. I can back off. I can train thrice a week also, and still have the same kind of commitment. It is not going to go out of the window that I'm not seeing the gym every day. There are periods where I train 5 times a week because I have so much time at hand. Something I'll pick up. I'll go and do arms. I'll do some
Hmm.
beach muscles. This, that. Yeah, it's okay. But when it's not that way, I back off as well. I back down to 3 days a week, as against 4 days a week or 5 days a week.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So
All
when
right.
so even at competitive level, we do those adjustments. So for somebody who's not competing, just wants to do a system because it is fad, they'll really drill a hole in themselves for nothing. Nothing, really.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So that
Yeah.
leads me to the next question on recovery. So, like, see, we always see you doing some kind of needling, some cupping. How much do they help you recover? What would you recommend for, let's say, an athlete who is getting ready for a meet? Okay. So, which one should he opt for and when?
Okay. When it comes to
And
recovery,
how often, let me add on
uh,
to this question, and how often should a person be stretching?
okay. First things first. Let's start with mobility. I don't
Yeah.
start my workout by just warming up. The first thing I would do is foam roll a bit wherever the tightnesses are. Maybe I'm a little bit more tighter now because of the age and the injuries and the years of lifting. But I need to invest the 10, 15 minutes initially. I use Theragun. I mean, I use that
Yeah.
gun to release hamstrings and hips and all that because I have my history with hamstrings. I mean,
Yes,
so I need to
absolutely.
be really careful. Yeah. So I need to be really careful where I have had repetitive tears that I don't repeat them. And I try to keep myself as healthy. So this is a part of the prehab and also blood flow to the area that you're training. You do your mobility drills. You do normal mobility drills. It doesn't need to be what Kelly Starrett every week puts up on his Instagram or social media page or YouTube or whatever. Very simple stuff works. Work with bands, work with rollers, work with any implement that will release you. This is first thing. Then we need to work on other stuff, which is making sure that small injuries and strains are taken care when they're small. This is
Hmm,
another
hmm,
thing. Even before we go to the role of a physio, if there is something discomforting, like I'll tell you in the recent time, I had a glute strain on my left and it was minor. I thought I will push it a little bit more, a couple of weeks, and then back off from it until it became a little bit more strained, and then I eventually backed off before I tear something. So a stitch in time saves nine. Then I got my physio work done, then I got it released, and likewise. So backing off sometimes, even when things are going absolutely fine with the progression, is important. Alongside with all of this is the role of a physio because there is only so much that you can roll. There's only so much that your gun can reach or a ball can reach. There are areas that have trigger points elsewhere, and that a good physio will be able to figure out. Because a strain happening in the belly of the hamstring may be because of tightness at the origin or reverse. So we don't know where the problem is, Or is it a hamstring or a glute insertion point, or maybe hamstring and the quad, because there's also a quad layer that goes down to the hamstring on the back. So the anatomy and understanding of that, why do we want to break our head into something which is not our expertise? Now,
Yeah.
this is something that I see a lot of coaches trying to be, or spreading themselves thin. I don't want to do that. I want to give due respect to the experience, expertise, and make best in benefit of that than trying to be a superhero, jack
Hmm.
of all. Why? If I have been good at uh, powerlifting for a certain time, it's because I practiced it for so many number of years. You are good at bodybuilding and prepping people for stage. So if I have any question related to water or holding water, how to get rid of it, I would simply come to you than spend hours and hours on YouTube trying to listening to 1,000 people reading articles and trying to be a shredder myself. Why?
Yeah.
Somebody has the expertise, reach out to them and benefit from it, from their experience and knowledge. And yeah, of course, people want freebies, right? I mean,
Yeah.
this market never surprises. It never stops to surprise me. They're like,
Okay.
I mean, just imagine somebody who has learned so much stuff over the years. You want help and you want it for free. How does that work? Do you go to a tax consultant and tell that, why don't you just help me out for free? Do you go to IT consultant and tell that, you have so much experience, just tell me how to maneuver around my taxes? Or even you want to build a house, right? You hire a consultant, you hire a contractor or an architect or whoever that you want to. You just go and tell them you're a good friend of mine, so make me a plan. I don't know how this way in IT, in fitness, people take it so easily that they want help and they want it for free. It's like they're entitled for it.
Yeah, yeah. I'll tell you a simple thing. Okay, so the problem is, I would say the people on social media, because there are YouTubers, there are Instagrammers who try to build their profile by saying, drink honey, water, and lime in the early morning and drop 10 pounds in 2 weeks. These videos become a hit, and they keep
Hmm.
on posting free content where they don't know what they are talking about, and people expect the
Yeah,
same from experts, and they even curse. So like there was a period, like I used to think that, am I doing something wrong by charging people? Then I realized, no, I'm not wrong, they are wrong. If you
absolutely.
want my expertise, you have to pay me money, or else it is, why should someone become an expert when you're not able to make anything out of it? So that was a very hard realization that came in, like after years and years of answering people. But now I think so I'm at a comfortable place where, like, I'll say, no boss, I take money.
Yeah,
That's a perfect stand.
even I do the
Yes.
same thing. Yeah, because it takes time and effort, and there are so many other actual clients who are paying. So it's unfair even for the people who are paying where somebody is getting it for free.
Absolutely.
It should be a
Absolutely.
fair play, for everybody.
Yeah.
So the expectation itself, and what are we talking about, man? People go to a lunch or dinner and blow up a couple of thousands, and they have problem in paying a few here and there for consultation where it actually supposed to be their goal. God,
Yeah.
I mean, imagine how much money we have spent on our goal in our lives.
Exactly.
It's not their goal; it's just a time pass,
Yeah,
really.
exactly, exactly. True, true. All
Yeah.
right. So now, like we are almost towards, like I'm burnt out of questions. So here is a very important thing that people would want to hear. Okay. If the viewers want to get coached by Power Beer, aka Mohammed Azmath, where should they contact you? That's question number one. Question number two, are there any special gears and support tools that they can use? What would be your recommendation for foam roller, for wristbands, kneecap, and all those things? Do you have a brand that you specifically recommend your athletes? And online, where can they reach you? Over to you.
Thank you. If anyone is interested in getting trained with me, then they can reach out on Instagram, the first window that is power_beard, not difficult to find, and we take it from there. My way of engagement is very straightforward. Once we have someone interested, I would have a phone call. I would try to understand where you are at and preferably have a look at your videos and the lifts and likewise, and we build it from there because there are a few things that are required to start off. I do train freshers to competitive athletes, but I do make the call eventually because there are certain things that I can fix over the internet and certain things I cannot. With no, with no offense, sometimes a local help, even of whatever minimal assistance, is better than doing online. Online is not for everybody, and online can even digress your progress. So online is not for everybody. So this is why I tell them that you need somebody locally to be able to help you. And once you pick up this basic stuff, I can guide you through how to get it, and then we can talk about it. Otherwise, it's not about numbers, Murali. Sometimes it's the communication and a lot of things that goes in with it. So long and short of it, power underscore beard, and we take it from there. Second thing, the gear. Now, it's not rocket science. The raw powerlifting is very, very simple. We have a good belt, a 13 max thickness belt, which is there in various forums now. USI has a good belt at a very affordable range. We also had our own line. We have ran out of stock right now, but nevertheless, SBD is the third one. So depending on one's budget, USI belts were about three-ish range for an 13 Our lever belts, we don't carry prong. We might bring in prong, but our lever belts in the price range of 8K, 13 full thickness lever, and SBD is in the range of I think 18, 20K. So that's the kind of price range. So it depends on preferences, it depends on where they are in lifting, then take up that one. And all these belts, mark my words, are lifetime investments. Be it an SBD, be it a USI, be it our belt. I wouldn't say one is superior over the other, but the thing about the lever technology is what we pay for. So prong is the simplest one where you have those hooks going in and it will last in years and years to come. Doesn't wear out. The lever that we have is prefixed, so it can be used by a specific athlete and it works. The SBD is a prong in a lever, in the sense you can readjust the lever on the go as you wear it. So that's the benefit.
Okay.
So you're paying not for the belt, leather, because the leather, once you wear it, I haven't found a difference between the three belts. So I'm being very, very straight on this, that you don't have to pay because the support is going to be better. It is about the flexibility of using it. So it's not that SBD is going to get you 10 kilos more. No, not at all. Or our belt is going to get you 10 kilos more than a USI. It's not even that. It is just the flexibility of using it, the convenience. With regards to wrist wraps and wrist wraps and knee wraps and all that, again, it depends on the level of the athletes. We carry our line, but that's not for beginners. That is for, I would say, intermediates to advanced athletes, because the wrapping itself is so tight that they would rather start with something like Inzer initially. Inzer normal wraps are there, and they build it from there because wrapping is a hurting process, especially on the knees. So once you get familiar with the pain threshold, then you go upwards onto heavier wraps, right? So foam rollers and resistance bands and all that. The only thing that we have in our line, which I really would like to mention, are the resistance bands. Our resistance bands, if you have, I think you have a set of that,
Yeah.
Murali, already. They are very heavy duty. They're not something what you get in the local market at Decathlon and all that. They're very different in our belts there. With even with our chalk and belts, resistance bands and all that. But otherwise, the normal resistance bands works. Foam rollers also in the market. Get a hard one, soft one, foam are waste. So it really goes from the level the athlete or the individual is, because if they are beginners, a very hard foam roller will be difficult to use. They will complain of pain. So work upwards from there. For us, we sometimes roll with the barbell. We take
And the PVC pipes. I remember you first initially starting with the PVC pipes,
Yeah,
right?
PVC, hard, thick PVC pipe. So there is no foam on it. It's only a pipe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So that's the thing, and that's the kind of pricing that goes along with the gear. Yeah, and not everybody would need belt. Not everybody would need wrist strap. First thing everybody needs is technique. First is that. Once we have a good, if we have a shitty technique, no matter which safety, which belt, which wrist strap, which knee wrap we use, we are that much prone to injuries with bad technique. I'm not telling less optimal technique. There are some techniques which are outright bad, and people just load weight because they need to do heavy. That's not right.
True, true. So, like you said, like a belt is an investment. I bought my belt in 2014, and till date I
Uh-huh.
use the same belt, the Prom
Correct.
USI one. Yeah, so that was
Yeah.
11 mm, and I've been using it from that point. And for wrist straps and resistant bands, uh, I got it as a gift from you, and ever since then, those wrist straps have helped me in all my heavy lifts. I don't do the powerlifting style, or I don't lift as heavy as I used to before, but whatever I'm lifting, it gives me a very good support, and the resistant bands are amazing. Just for people to understand that the reason why I brought up this question is he has an amazing line, but he is not someone who markets his product. He's a, like, let's say, he is a person who believes in quality product, but he's less of a salesman. So that's the reason why I brought that up in. And if you guys want to get coached by Mohammed Azmath, I'm going to leave his Instagram handle on the description of this video so that you can click it and approach him on DM. And thank you very much for making time. I know you are super busy, and thank you very much
No, no.
for taking an hour out of your time and giving it to me. It was pleasure talking to you. All the memories and the positivity that you can give made this show super good for me. And I'll try to get him on to the show once again if you have further questions whenever he has time. So, with that, thank you very much for joining on board, brother. It was wonderful talking to you again.
Pleasure, pleasure, Murali. Really thanks for having me over and reviving our memories. We
Yeah,
should be catching up more often. Maybe we should have focused, shorter sessions as well.
yes, absolutely.
Specifics. Yeah, I mean, maybe a bench specific session or whatever. Oh, yeah, I was telling you about the lifting space. Let me not
Yeah,
finish this
yeah.
without
A
actually
tour
showing
of
what.
home gym. Here goes.
Yeah, so this is, let me switch on the lights and turn around the cam. How do I turn around the cam in this? Do I turn cam? Oh no, cam is off.
Yeah,
How
you
does one
just
turn
have to
around the
turn it
cam in
around and
this?
show it to me. This app gives only that
Okay,
much. Okay.
yeah. So this is what we have. We have a cage. We have metal rods. We have resistance bands. We have barbell. This is a typical IPF bar. That's a trap bar. This one is a squat bar. This one is a deadlift bar. This is a power bar. This is a mixed grip barbell. This is a safety squat bar. There is a log. There is a buffalo bar. This is called a buffalo because it looks like buffalo wings.
Yeah,
There is a
yeah.
curl bar. There are dumbbells that I can make up to 80 kilos actually.
Wow.
Then I have kettlebells. That is my cat food. Okay, and this is the load.
Yeah.
So we have these are metal loads and others are the bumper. So I have about 450 kilos approximately in terms of total load. This is how
Yeah.
it looks, and those are the medals in the corner. Some trophies, some medals, some certificates, and then this is another space where I have the cable crossovers.
Brother, your camera got cut.
Okay, my
Yeah.
hand must have touched. Is it okay now?
Yep. Perfect.
Yeah, so we have the cable station, and then GHRs there, refrigerator to host my protein shakes. So yeah, so that's the kind of setup we have here. So
Awesome, awesome. So people,
so all in
those
all,
of you complain, yeah.
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so people who are complaining about not finding time to work out, I know this person for about 2 decades. When he was in Kuwait, he had a home gym where still he had barbells, plenty of weight, and a cage. Until date, he has a cage at home. He cannot live without lifting. So if you are that committed towards whatever passion you have, then success is your only option. Failure is something that can never touch you. And one more thing is what a lot of people think about success and failure is, like they start comparing themselves with somebody else.
Yeah,
Rather, what you aim in life, and if you are able to achieve it, be happy and give back to the community at least a little bit. That's
yes,
real success. Don't let others define your success. Being happy means you are successful. Yeah, brother.
absolutely, absolutely. Thanks, Murli, once again. It was a
Yep.
wonderful, wonderful 1 hour spent on the Friday,
Yep.
and I was really looking forward for this session. And
Yeah.
indeed, it did make a lot of difference to me. Honored
Yep.
and
The pleasure
close
is
to my heart
always mine,
always.
brother. You're someone that I look for motivation, for positivity, support. Whenever, like I've been in places where I needed some kind of support, he has been always there. And that's the reason why when I wanted to bring in guest into my show, I wanted him to be the first. And he's the most accomplished power lifter that I have ever known in my personal contact. So there you go. It was a wonderful session with Mohammed Azmath. Looking forward to do plenty of sessions like this. It's Mohammed Azmath and your Biglee over and out. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
brother.
Thank you. Cheers. Yeah, bye.